Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game of Fans First Sports Network, bringing you another edition of the Duval Dive, looking into all the stuff. Welcome to all of you out there, Duval Devout. I know that it's a tougher place in the congregation. Nobody goes into the NFL season thinking, hoping, and desiring 1-5, but here, in fact, we are. And listen, the second home, the home away from home, allegedly, that was supposed to be for the Jacksonville Jaguars was anything but welcoming this particular time, whether it's Caleb Williams being great for the Bears or whether it's the Jacksonville Jaguar defense quitting. It's a whole lot of questions there too. We'll get into that a little bit, of course, but also mentioning the Bears, don't forget to check out later tonight, Student of the Game podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern. I will have Mark Moses on to talk some Bears too, if you're curious about that and what we think is going on there with them. But this is the Duval Dive. We're focused on what the Jaguars are doing. And if you're focused on what the Jaguars are doing, you should probably be focused on my personal champion, Mr. Travis D. Holmes of Big Cat Country. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man. Doing well. What's going on with you?
I mean, you've reached that acceptance portion, like we mentioned the other day. Your your situation is you haven't even put on this team makes me drink shirt, and I get all of that, man. At this point, we're here to just kind of see what's going on, and I think we're already evaluating for next year. I'll put it that way.
Fair.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, and I lead with that for two reasons. A, and I'll certainly go into one of the topics we'll probably be talking about here in a little bit, and B, I'm curious about one particular question. Of course, on the Duval Dive live on Sunday, we wrapped up the Bears Jags game in an instant reaction. And I think by then we might have even heard about Andre Cisco saying he saw a lot of quit out there and all this other stuff. You had mentioned you had seen a lot of quit, and it gave you, I felt like, a motivation to watch the All-22 despite some of the bad that it was waiting for you there, I think, on that film. But now that you've seen the All-22, what kind of jumps out to you here, buddy?
I don't think anything like materially changed. Like he said, he saw a lot of quit. I won't say I saw a lot of quit, but I definitely saw some quit. And that was the biggest piece for me. Like, I mean, everyone is harping on Devin Lloyd and his performance on that, Cole Kmet touchdown play where Andre Cisco was stiff-armed, and rightfully so. But the only two people that were hustling on that play, even looking at the All-22, looking at the broadcast, looking at the sideline view, was Monteric Brown and Andre Cisco. Josh Hines-Allen, jogging. Lloyd, jogging. Ronald Darby and Antonio Johnson, the backside corner and the backside safety, jogging. And it was to a point where I'm like, well, dang, that's rough. Especially when you have a tight end who's holding the ball out at the goal line, but you may have had an opportunity to actually punch that bad boy out if anybody was just hustling. And then, again, this isn't college stuff. This is high school. This is, Pop Warner kind of stuff. You hustle to the ball. And I can show you 10 plays from the Chicago Bears where they're hustling, expecting a fumble to take place, expecting a turnover. They're hungry for the ball, and you can tell these are guys making either business decisions or simply just not feeling it because they see this game slipping away from them in the second half at going nearly 1-5.
Yeah, and I can see how that kind of fell over them at this point too. We had mentioned already that if it weren't for Andre Cisco's first half interception, it's quite possible the Bears would have been up 3 scores by halftime. So, I'm not saying I'm excusing it. I'm not saying it's allowed. I am saying I can see how it happened.
Right. But it's also not to say, I want to make sure I point this part out though. I didn't see a lot of quit before the Jaguars were down 18 points. Nearing 1-5 at that point. Like when you had a game where it was still an 11-point game or a 14-point game, you weren't seeing these glaring issues of effort and things of that nature. Not on the film anyways. I will say that. So I want to be clear in saying that's not why they lost. They got beat because they're a bad football team who's badly coached. But they didn't get beat because guys weren't playing hard or guys weren't, trying. They may have lost belief in the coaching staff. That's been an ongoing week by week thing at this point, even starting in the offseason. But they that's not why they lost this game. They lost this game for scheme reasons, which we kind of got into in the last in Sunday's Do All Dive pod, and also for effort, just some second half effort stuff. But for the most part, it's just scheme. It's just guys aren't good enough. It's just the team makes me drink because they're just not good, man.
Of course, some of the you mentioned when it started to happen, sounds like you're saying it was about the second half when we started to realize some of those effort issues.
That fumble after the halftime, when you think you have a chance of coming back and you immediately fumble and immediately give up a touchdown, that's it. I mean, the biggest play in the game was easily Evan Ingram's fumble on the first play coming out of halftime, when you think you just have some fighting chance of getting back in the game, and you immediately fumble, they immediately score, and the game's a wrap. And I think guys kind of knew it from that point on. So, yeah, you are pretty much talking the majority of the second half of the game.
Fair enough. So with that in mind, I don't think we need to belabor that anymore, Travis. Let's go ahead and do this. Like now, a number of weeks back, we had heard some whispers, some complete and total rumor out there about Travis Etienne being traded, some sort of talks or whatever. And at that point, we were like, I think we were in kind of our Bishop Bullwinkle mode of hail to the no, to the no, no, no.
No, 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 no. Yes, sir. Let's go.
But at this point, well, apparently the tune has changed in the choir. And I'll give you credit on Twitter. We're about to flash this here. If you happen to be watching on the Duval Dive YouTube channel or any of our partners there, you put out a tweet that had listed certain options for trades that the Jags might entertain, right?
Right, and that's all that it is. I want to be clear about this. These aren't guys I think the Jaguars are calling other teams offering. These are guys who I believe other teams would be interested in calling the Jaguars to see what they're asking for. When you're at 1-5, and this is not something I'm hearing like from agents or hearing from players or hearing from anyone else. It's just things that make total sense. Even before the season, you can look at this and say, all right, cool. This team's out of the playoffs, out of the playoff race. Who potentially has an expiring contract, or who is someone that is, you may have a solid replacement on the roster, or just, options as far as that's concerned. Now, this list made it very easy.
Despite all of Travis's modesty, I also have to remind the crew that it was this time, 2 or 3 years ago, you predicted the James Robinson trade that eventually put Travis Etienne to the front. And also, this is a quote tweet of your original tweet that included Roy Robertson Harris, and it actually happened. So for all the modesty of, well, this is speculation, it is sometimes my dude be Nostradamus up in this humpy bumpy predicting things that do happen. So let's give him a little bit of credit on some of his foresight and intellect with that. However, I bring this up for one particular reason. We're going to kind of go through these names on the list here. I think that makes sense. But the first one, he may not be the first name, but no, you put Travis Etienne back here. I got to tell you, I don't blame you. What I'm kind of as we go through, give me kind of a 1 through 10 of how likely you think this would be to happen. I'm assuming most of these are going to be below a 7 or a 5 even. But these are ones out there that the Jags could be getting phone calls for. So let's start with here.
So if you're talking, if you're talking Mac Jones, I mean, at that point, you're just hoping to get something conditioned. Like, you're hoping for a quarterback needy team closer to the trade deadline. I mean, like, let's say the Miami Dolphins get some bad news on Tua and he ends up not coming back in week 8 like they're originally projecting. Maybe they'll toss you a conditional 4th or 5th round draft pick. I think you jump at that pretty quickly, especially knowing that this team's out of the playoff race. Like, I think something along those lines could be something to get done. And so at that point, I won't say it's something that's highly likely, because it's heavily dependent on what's going to happen around the league and who has those, who has that want to give up something that high for a quarterback who they'll still have to teach a new offense. So I probably put that around maybe a 5. That's truly a coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Etienne, that's the big one because everyone's talking about it, because it's mainly seems to be driven by fantasy football guys and not true sources. I'm keeping it 100. Like it's not there doesn't seem to be true rumors around Travis Etienne being traded. It just seems like it just makes sense because Tank Bigsby is playing really dang well when he has his opportunities, and Travis Etienne, I mean, even before his injury, was seemed to be kind of just getting phased out as they continued to give Dearness Johnson more of his reps, even early in this game before he got injured in the first half. So if he didn't get injured in this past game, I actually would have had it a little bit higher, honestly. But now knowing that he's week by week and not really knowing how long that's going to take before he gets healthy by that November 5th trade deadline, that makes it a little bit questionable. I will say that's probably closer to a 3 or 4. Like I don't believe that one's going to happen simply because it really does depend on if he's going to be healthy enough to make that happen.
And let me push back real quick on Mac Jones. I think it's lower than a 5 because I really do think the Jags are trying to develop him into a good number 2 for Trevor and a more valuable trade picking commodity. Now, granted, they could totally do, like you mentioned, like a Raiders to the Jets or a Amari Cooper to the Buffaloes kind of thing, to a desperate team that needs to spot, like you mentioned. I don't know who that would be at this point in the season, and the trade deadline is basically here. So we are not going to see another obvious emergency injury or anything like that that'll pop up. That being said, were this, let's say, last week, and Russell Carrington Wilson would not have been able to come back and start like the Steelers are having him do, maybe a Steelers team would have given this a shot, and I could have put it a little higher, or excuse me, put a little higher or closer to a 5. This feels like a 3 for me at this time of the year. Now, when we're talking in the offseason, we get close to the draft time. Trent Baalke needs some more draft picks for his final draft here in Jacksonville, or at least
he's on his final year of his contract, though. So you got to remember that for Mac Jones.
Hey, listen. Mac Jones on his final year of his contract.
Right. So he's only here for this is it. So if you don't get anything by this trade deadline, you don't get anything.
My bad. I thought he was a 2-year deal. Okay. So then, he's probably just going to write it out and be done. I mean, we'll call that what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we got Brandon Scherf. We got Cam Robinson. At that point, that's who doesn't want a left tackle.
I notice how you gloss over Scherf. Like nobody wants Brandon Scherf, bro. I don't know why.
A lot of teams would like Brandon Scherf. I just thought that was an obvious one because of the same situation where they just kind of redid his contract to give him more guaranteed money up front, but also that put a little bit, a lot like the Roy Robertson Harris situation, where they also recently redid his contract, and then they may have to feel the need to get off of it because it just doesn't make sense for an aging veteran. You have Hodges in the wings. It's not significantly different than having Jordan Jefferson in the wings and having Roy Robertson Harris taking up snaps. Eventually, you might get to a point where it's, hey, let's look forward.
Yeah,
so I can see that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can see that one. That one's probably, honestly, between Scherf and Robinson, I put those guys more closer to a 6 or a 7. Like, it's not to say all these guys are going to get traded, but if you're talking likelihood, offensive line, who doesn't want an offensive lineman in the National Football Team? The offensive line play is just down across the league. So I feel like those guys will be in a hotter commodity, even if they're not like the greatest players, if that makes sense. And I think Scherf is actually a very good player, to be clear. Robinson is helping his stock go up because of how he's played recently. And Walker Little just being, what he has put on film, at least he's going to have some kind of an audience come this offseason. So I think the teams would at least be jumping for the opportunity to try to buy low on him and get him in the door. Not significantly different than we did with Ezra Cleveland last year. Got him in the door, see what he was like, and then just try to extend him from there.
I feel like Walker Little would have upside if he was required. But again, his thing too, he's another guy whose contract's up this year. So, that's tricky.
Exactly why you'd have to do it because his contract is up this year. You do it or you don't. But either way, he's unlikely to re-sign here. And I think most people kind of can see why.
I don't think Christian Kirk's go anywhere because his contract is so high. Am I out of line thinking that? Yeah,
well, unless somebody redoes his contract, highly unlikely. And it's highly unlikely because he's Trevor's, like, that's his guy. But at the same time, it's not so that they're just so linked that I just couldn't see it. That's the reason he's on this list, especially with the up and down season he's currently had and the up and down season mostly down season this Jacksonville Jaguars team is having. I wouldn't say it's a 5, but I feel comfortable saying something like a 4 if a team offered the right package. I don't know that they would is the problem with the state of the wide receiver market, but
Yeah.
if some team wanted to offer a 3 or a 4, I mean, again, I see teams they'd have to at least think about it, but these guys are coaching for their career. Trent could be coaching for his job. I mean, he may not be. Who knows what Shad Khan thinks at this point? But nevertheless, that's my point. And then when you get to the defensive guys, Chad Muma, Ronald Darby, and Cisco. Cisco's contract, again, he's in that final. He's playing for a contract extension, and he's not playing very well, but I guarantee a zone coverage team out there will be willing to give something for him if they have, it just depends on what the asking price is with Trent. Same thing with Chad Muma. Jaguars have 4 linebackers, really solid linebacker options, and they run a 3 linebacker defense where the third linebacker only plays 25 to 30% of the snaps. Well, that you have options there. So I don't think that that's such a crazy thought process that they wouldn't be at least interested in listening to a team if they wanted to offer something, moderate for either Muma, Cisco, maybe even Darby. Now, if they get Tyson Campbell back, but that's again a coin flip. So I'm probably going 4, honestly, 4, 4, 6, 6 being Cisco.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know that teams are making a phone call to get Ronald Darby. He's kind of been exposed a little bit here. I think that'll turn teams off, fair or not.
I don't know, man. That's a hard one. As a DB, and knowing it depends on if you're a man DB team, like if you're a man coverage team.
Scheme's a factor. That's a good point.
Right, scheme's a factor, and there's only 8 or so teams that's like that. So it'd be, he going back to somewhere like Baltimore or something like that. I can see that, especially if they have some injuries. It all comes down to injuries over these next 3 weeks before that trade deadline hits. Then that's kind of the same point I was making with Mac Jones. If Mac Jones, if one of the quarterbacks in the league get hurt over these next 3 weeks, that opens the door, man.
Fair enough. Okay, so that'll take it through our brief trade walk through there. Let's go ahead and get into actually talking about the football, as week 2 in London features the New England Patriots. Travis D. Holmes, listen, you'll have to forgive my bias up front. I know I'm committing a cardinal sin in doing this, but I don't care that he threw 3 touchdowns. I know he threw 3 interceptions as well. Drake May does not intimidate me. The receivers that they have do not intimidate me. What makes me worried if I'm a member of the Duval Devout is Hunter doing his thing at the tight end spot and gashing the Jaguars in a place where they're pretty weak in coverage right now.
I mean, sure, but Hunter Henry still got to get hit by the quarterback. And I watched every Drake May throw because I kind of just wanted to see what he looked like this year. It's not different than I watched every Caleb Williams throw before the game, and he's fine. He's he's not bad. I'm trying to say it in the right way, parse my words. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, he's a rookie. He look like another? Is that what he's a rookie quarterback who's inaccurate. This feels not significantly different than the Atlanta Falcons game from 2023 in London. This is not the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the New England Patriots. No, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is probably the ideal game to be viewed that way. This to me says if the Jaguars can't win this game against this roster, against this against this rookie quarterback, then the Jaguars simply can't beat. They don't know how to play football on a basic level. And I don't mean that as a joke. I don't mean that as a knock. I truly mean the only way the Jaguars lose this game is if they simply can't do the basic things. That's really what I feel like. Just looking at position by position matchups, playing against this quarterback who was really high on the majority of his completed throws. His receivers actually did make some really solid catches, including Hunter Henry. Mm-hmm. And he was, I would give Drake May credit that he also did a lot of scrambling, which will give this Jacksonville Jaguars defense problems because it has all season. That's been the thing that they lead the NFL in. One of the few things that they lead the NFL in is allowing quarterback runs. Yeah, allowing quarterbacks to run the ball in EPA per play. which is just crazy because they play a lot of that man defense,
Well,
unfortunately.
and what was it? Joe Flacco had the big number because the one really long run he had. But I mean,
I don't care, man. You let every quarterback run, including the statue who doesn't run. What do you say to that? Like you can't say he had it because of this. Yeah, I mean Derrick Henry only had a 100-yard. He only had a 50-yard per run average because he had a 100-yard run. Cool, he still had the average. Like I don't know what to tell you. The numbers are the numbers across 6 games. So this team is not playing well, but on the plus side, they do get Tyson Campbell back. Interestingly enough, the Jaguars have been, obviously been missing him for a few weeks now since he's been on IR, and they may get him back. Fingers crossed if everything goes right in practice and they choose to activate him before Sunday. If they do, it allows them to play a lot more man coverage than they've been playing lately because the first 2 weeks of the season, they were playing nearly 65% man coverage if you're counting cover 2 man. And then that thing went down to like 30 in the 30s. We're down in the 30s right now because they just know that they can't play man anymore, and it's been going down since the Buffalo Bills week when they got us exposed. However you want to look at it. So having Tyson Campbell back allows them to do the thing that they actually want to do and maybe even do it better. And if that happens against this offense, I think they could win just by scoring, 17 points in the game.
I feel like the key player for the Jags over all of it is Trayvon Walker. If he has a good game, if he gets to Drake May, if he makes the big plays, if he causes a turnover, I think the Jags win this football game. What about you?
Okay, I hear it right here. I got you.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh man, no, I got you. Well,
juice here. I forgot my juice before the show.
I think I kind of can agree with you there. Like whether it's Trayvon Walker, whether it's Josh Allen, just the Jaguars' edges because Drake May against the Houston Texans, he was under duress for nearly 50% of the plays. I believe it was like 47% of the snaps he was pressured, and the man went like. Let's see. Drake May went 8 for 15 for 81 yards and an interception and 4 sacks when pressured versus Houston. And they showed a lot of fandom pressure, and it was like pretty crazy. But unfortunately, the New England Patriots have had 6 starting offensive line combinations, and this last game was their first time having a moderately solid situation at center. They actually cut their previous center after this past game and signed a new guy 3 days before the game, and he actually was one of their better offensive linemen. I think it's Bob something. I'm forgetting his last name. I'm sorry, draw off the top of my head. And they signed him. Yeah, they signed him 3 days before the game, and he actually ended up playing one of their best games of the season across their offensive line. So he may be a stabilizing force a little bit.
That's nice.
But the numbers are what they are at the end of the day. New England's offensive line is second worst in the league in pass block win rate on ESPN stats. However, the Jaguars' pass rush is second worst in the league. So is our bad better than their bad? That's really the question.
And how much of that is teams running the ball late because there's 2 blowouts in
no. So pass rush win rate is really when you're passing the ball, how often are you winning? But it's heavily impacted by the interior defensive line for the Jaguars not getting any pressure. It's less the edges. So if we're going to win, to your original point, it's going to be because of Trayvon Walker. It's going to be because of Josh Allen winning more often than not, because we at this point can kind of say that it's hard to depend on our interior defensive linemen to give us that consistent pressure.
Well, and let me tell you too why I double down on Trayvon, and it ain't just because Hines Allen has been on the milk carton as far as sacks go. What I mean is, I'm told allegedly he has the most pressures on the team, according to a tweet I saw by my former Jaguars on SI teammate Dan Griffiths.
I thought he was second. He had the most last week, but I think he's second overall.
Second in the AFC South. Overall for the season, I think it was. And I don't remember if, now that you mentioned, I don't remember if that included the Bears or not. I'd have to double check. But the point is, he's one of the bigger edge rushers in the division to get hurries despite the lack of sack numbers. So what I'm hearing happen is he's breaking people out of the pocket. Trayvon needs to be there to clean up. Right? I'm not expecting Josh Hines Allen to get a sack this game. It'd be great if he got one, obviously, simply because coming into it, it would be a surprise, even regardless of his numbers being what they are right now, if they don't key him first in the front 7. Okay. Especially with Lewican gone. So it's going to be on Trayvon to win more often, because I feel like he's the guy that's going to get more one-on-ones, fewer chips, fewer extra nudges at the line beyond the man in front of him.
Yeah, no, I got you. I can see that. No, and just looking at the pass rush updates from John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, John Shipley, he has Josh Hines Allen with 23 pressures and Walker with one less at 22. But again, it depends on the site you go to. Different sites might have different pressures.
And to that point, Dan Griffiths uses PFF and does that. John Shipley counts
right. So different things.
Part of it, yeah.
So there you go. But at the end of the day, yeah, I can see that being a game changer as far as if the Jaguars can get home, then awesome. I think they win the game. But also, if they also have to be able to stop Drake May from running the ball, and also stop these running backs from catching the ball out of the backfield. Because in the first 2 weeks, when New England did the best, that played their best, when they beat Cincinnati, when they played Seattle to overtime and barely lost against those guys, it was because they leaned on the two running backs. They leaned on the backs, running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield. They milked the game a lot like that Cleveland game. That is the way that the New England Patriots win this game. Is they control the ball just like against the Cleveland did against us, controlling the ball for the whole first half, scoring, field goals, or touchdown here and there, keeping the Jaguars offense off the field. And if they just have even a little bit of success keeping the Jaguars, 3 and out once or twice in the first half, all of a sudden you're down 17-10 or 17-3 or something like that. That's how New England wins this game. Jacksonville wins it by getting them off the field. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is you have to be able to stop these backs and tackle in space. You have to stop the quarterback from running the ball. I think if you can do those things, you win the game.
So I hear you telling me you need the Jags to be better than 40% third down conversion rate as well on a winning stat line.
Yes. That would be great. If you could do that, that would be great. And especially against an inaccurate rookie quarterback, that would be very great. If you could just be like if you let this team get, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you let this team get better than 40% on your third down conversions, then what we doing here, bro? Like, pack it up. Bring in the tractors and the dump trucks. Like, this is over. Like, let's just clear this out now. Like, we're wasting time at this point.
And you're giving Trent Baalke another draft and another coach to hire. But more on that on the next episode. Travis, it's that time. Tell the world what you got. Who's going to win? How many points is it going to be?
Oh, gosh. Don't make me do this.
I have no choice. It's
all right. I know. If you're making me do it today, like, I've already watched a few games and I'm halfway done with my overall assessment, but I think I'm probably leaning towards the Jaguars winning, and I'm going 20-17. Don't shoot me if my final prediction comes out saying the Patriots win 20-17, because that's really where I am right now. I have to question whether or not this team can walk and chew gum. That's unfortunate. But yeah, I'm probably going with Jags 20-17 over the Patriots. I think this is the team that they should be able to beat, because this is a team, if you show up and don't fumble the ball, don't fumble the bag away, you'll probably be fine, because Drake's going to miss a few open receivers on third down here and there. I just have to believe that.
I for some reason, I have it in my head that these teams are going to get past 40 combined points. So I'm going to be the real optimist here. 24-17. Jackson. I don't know why. I feel confident. And I got to get Cam Little in there. He's going to get a field goal because he's an amazing kicker. So 24-17 is where I land for that. I feel like Cam Little, like I said, gets something before the game is out. I feel like this Jacksonville Jaguar offense, while not great, can do enough to move the ball. BTJ will get at least one lottery ticket touchdown. I feel confident with that. And I feel confident that a couple times they'll actually complete a drive. And the one where they drop more passes is when Cam Little will get the field goal. Ergo, 20-17.
Okay.
I don't see argument. You feel where I'm coming from.
It sounds like you truly visualize what this is going to be. I wish you luck, sir.
Call me now. Anyways, nobody's going to get that reference anymore, are they, Travis? Tell the world where you can be found.
Yeah, you can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com. If you are listening to us right now, please click that button, like and subscribe. Don't just listen to us every time we post. Like and subscribe to get those notifications. Help us with the algorithm. We appreciate it. And yeah, I'll have the post game write up on BigCatCountry.com after, in the early afternoon after the game, since they're playing in London. And also the things that I've identified from the snap counts from the rewatch, probably sometime midday, late Monday. Where can you be found, sir?
So it's not about helping us with the algorithm, Travis. We're trying to help you beat the Ocho rhythm. That's right. The thing that takes you to those people that don't watch the games and don't know what they're talking about. Okay. That's what we're helping you beat. Like and subscribe, whether it be on the Duval Dive YouTube channel or on any one of our podcast catchers there too. By the way, the podcast catchers get us paid too. So there's that. So I mean,
there we go. There you go.
But,
I appreciate that.
Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle Nash, Student of the Game. You find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a Student of the Game. Check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network for both the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic. I will be attending a preseason game this week for that, so make sure you check that out. Also, check out my work with the Black and Gold Banneret covering UCF football and basketball media day. As we do this here Wednesday is tomorrow morning, Thursday, 11:30, 11:45-ish, whatever. I'm going to be over there talking to both men's and women's hoops, both Coach Satia Messer and Johnny Dawkins, about the upcoming season and year 2 in the Big 12 playing basketball. So make sure you check out that. And of course, like I said earlier, Student of the Game podcast, 9 p.m. tonight. Make sure you check that out in all the places. So, for my friend, Travis D. Holmes, thanks again to you all for making this show fun to do, because if it was just focusing on firing Trent Baalke, it would get old eventually. Don't worry, there'll be more on that, I'm sure, throughout the season.
Will it?
It may be prayer, but listen, one problem at a time, Travis.
Firing Trent never gets old, baby. Let's go.
So, for Travis D. Holmes, I am Kyle Nash, Student of the Game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.